Good evening. Welcome, everyone. This is the Clover Garden School Board of Directors, March 9th, 2021 meeting. Calling this meeting to order. Ms. Verakin, you want to give us our role and mission?
Role of the board: we are entrusted to care for the current school and stay focused on the vision for the future school. No trust, no unity, no progress. The mission of Clover Garden School: Clover Garden School will foster community, generate enthusiasm, challenge students academically, and produce successful citizens.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any questions or changes? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Brooks, second. Mr. Huffines, all in favor? Ms. Saunders, Mr. Hackney, Mr. Huffines, Ms. Lane, Mr. Brooks, Ms. Foster. Has everyone had a chance to review the February 9th, 2021 minutes? Were there any changes or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve the February 9th? I'm sorry.
I had one small change. It is very small. I hate to even mention it. Ms. Jackson does such an excellent job for us. But just since these become part of record, the number skipped from finance 3 to principal's report 5, and that should really be number 4.
Oh, yeah.
And I had in my notes from our meeting last time that our waiting list as of the end of as of our meeting time was 400 to 412. I don't know if anybody else knows that.
Okay, any other changes?
Can you repeat that change for me, please?
So the number order of the sections.
Oh.
Finance, and then principal's report, it jumps from 3 to 5.
Okay, I'll fix that.
Okay, and then within the principal's report, item number C, with the waiting list of 400, it should be at 412. And those were the only two, correct? Okay. So Ms. Jackson will amend the changes, approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Ms. Foster? Second. Ms. Saunders? All in favor? Ms. Saunders, Mr. Hackney, Mr. Huffines, Ms. Lane, Mr. Brooks, Ms. Foster. Thank you. Mrs. Verakin, do we have public comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Brooks, will you please read public comment policy? And then Mr. Huffines will be reading the public comments.
The purpose of public comment is to allow Clover Garden School Board of Directors to hear directly from our community on matters of the school. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers are welcome to offer comments or criticism directed at substantive ideas, actions, or procedures of the board and individual board members. In the interest of maintaining civility and decorum, however, board members will not tolerate or allow personal attacks and insults directed at the board, at individual board members, the staff, or members of the general public. The laws and policies of North Carolina provide that issues or concerns involving individual personnel matters are confidential and therefore not appropriate for public comment settings. Concerns related to personnel issues may be addressed through the school's director or principal or the assistant principal, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Speakers, including students, may discuss issues and matters of general concern, but should refrain from discussing confidential student information. Concerns related to confidential student matters may be addressed through contacting the school's director or principal, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies.
Thank you.
All right, so the first comment we have is Heather Castaneda. The topic is let our middle schoolers return. Comment says, please reconsider letting our middle school students come back to finish the year. Our middle school students will need hand holding. High school students are more adapted to learning from screens. They're preparing for college. For middle school, you cannot solely rely on them learning everything they need to know from a screen. We, the parents, want them to return. I know you are trying to keep everyone safe, but even the public schools are going back. Private have been back. Please reconsider. Thank you. End of comment. All right, second comment is from Carla Cook. Topic is sixth grade email to reopen schools. All right, comment is this: I am Dayton Cook's mom, sixth grade. I just wanted to let you know I fully support the school's decision to keep the middle and high school kids at home. I 100% trust your opinion when it comes to the safety and the health of my son. With that email that went out last night, I just wanted you to know my son and I in no way agree with that email, and we will stay with remote learning as long as you all feel it is necessary. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for putting our kids and their health and safety first. Do not let the opinion of a few ruin our great school and wonderful staff and teachers. I would not trust anyone else with my son. Please keep up the great work. You all are awesome. End of comment. All right, the third comment we have is from Timothy Terry. Topic is students to return back to middle school. All right, comment starts. I am the grandparent of Bryson Dale Terry, seventh grader. Bryson has always been a good student. However, he is really struggling with the remote learning. His sister, Briella Diane Brown, has returned to school from 8 to 12 every day and has been able to pull her grades up. Could you please reconsider your decision to allow the middle schoolers to return to the school room? End of comment. All right, next comment is from Ivy Yarborough. The topic is, this is in regards to middle school coming back to school. Begin a comment now. We are extremely disappointed and upset at CGS's decision to not have middle school students return this school year. I realize you are offering blended enrichment, but let's all be real. 2 hours once a week is not going to help the situation we are in. I have 2 kids in middle school, and this remote learning is not working. And it's not working for the many of the middle school parents. Why are you not asking and involving the parents in these remote learning decisions? A survey was sent out back in September surveying the parents about remote learning. It was sent out hours before the board meeting when you first voted. Since then, nothing, just emails stating what your intended plans are, only to cancel them later. You said earlier this year that middle school would be coming back to school in March, and now you have once again crushed the hearts and minds of so many students. I mean, no disrespect to the teachers, as I know they are trying, but my girls are not learning. They see their teacher for 30 minutes once a week, if they are lucky. 30 minutes once a week is absolutely ridiculous. My daughter has been an AV student since starting Clover Garden in second grade. These days, she's lucky if she gets a C. Why is CGS okay with so many students performing so poorly? Bringing them back for 2 hours once a week is not going to fix this. There are public schools all over the state that are back in person. Bring them back for at least a couple of days a week on some sort of AV schedule with half the kids there Monday, Tuesday, and the other half Wednesday, Thursday. If some families are uncomfortable coming back, they can continue their work remotely. CGS has had a year to figure this out, and yet somehow every single month you come up with more excuses as to why you're not going to let the middle school kids come back. The kids are suffering both mentally and academically. It is terrible what you're doing to them. I am begging you to reconsider your decision and bring the middle school kids back to school, and not for just 2 hours once a week. Thank you. End of comment. All right, next one is from Christine Frizzle. The topic is middle school returning to in-person instruction. I believe that this decision to stay virtual for the rest of the school year is a huge mistake. Now is the time to have the students return so that you can work out the problems before the new year starts. You're going to have kids on all different levels, and there will be issues that come up that need to be solved. Why not start letting them back now to begin troubleshooting so that when the school year starts in July, you are ready? If you cannot make it work now, will you be able to make it work in July? Teachers are getting vaccinated. The kids need to come back to school. All public schools are now required to have the students back in the school by the end of March. We need to follow this as well. My second grader is focusing on math and ELA when in school. Why not do this with the middle school? If you continue to keep our kids out of school, you're denying them their education. Virtual learning is not working. My sixth grader had straight A's on her last report card, but she is not retaining what she is learning. She is depressed and alone all day in her dark bedroom because she has no motivation to get out of bed. She has had great grades, but she has failing to thrive. She is miserable. Many kids do not thrive in an online setting. They need social interaction and in-person instruction. Our children are suffering. Please take your children's mental health into consideration when making decisions for their future. Thank you for listening. In the comment. The next one is from Brooklyn Will. Topic is, I would like to come back to school. I am a current sixth grader at Clover Garden. I would like the board to know that virtual learning is not working for me and my family. I was very excited about starting school on March 8th. When I found out that you decided to keep the middle school virtual, I was very upset and confused. Why can my second grade sister go to school every day and I can't? You say it is because we don't have enough teachers, but if you just have us do ELA and math in school, maybe we could have enough teachers. We can still do science and social studies on campus. I need to come back to school. My eyes hurt by the middle of the day because I am constantly looking at the computer, and so I take a break and shut my eyes. Then I get tired and it is hard to find the energy to get started again. I feel like I am in jail. When my parents get home at night, they help me, but I am tired and they are tired. We are up until midnight almost every night. We used to do fun things as a family on the weekend, and it was a nice break. Now we just do schoolwork all weekend because there just isn't enough time during the weekdays to get it done. It is a bad situation. We need help. Please help me and my family by letting me come back to school and see my teachers. Thank you. Okay, last comment is from Jennifer Hudson. Topic is bring middle schoolers back to campus. Dear Mrs. Rakin and Mrs. Moore, thank you for your email letting us know the plans for the remainder of the year for middle school and high school students. After watching the last board meeting on YouTube, I felt I had to respond. I have a child in kindergarten, third grade, and sixth grade. From what I understand, the school has upgraded the ventilation system, installed touchless water fountains, and added clear dividers when available, and have more than enough germ blasters that are lightweight, easy to use, and dry in 15 minutes. Super spreaders are known to be people ages 14 to 24. 71% of third through fifth grade students chose to attend school when given the option. Once children reach the eighth grade, it becomes difficult to keep children distant because they change classes. Students in the focus group seem to be performing better when the teachers return to campus. It is thought the teachers had access to the students and could check in on them. It is difficult to measure mental, emotional health. After watching the board meeting, I am extremely upset at the lack of clarity around why students cannot return to class. There was an acknowledgement of the struggle middle school students are having based on the number of students in orange. It was even addressed in the meeting, and someone asked a question about how the school was going to support that group. No clear answer was given, but it would be taken to committee. So much emphasis is placed on the academic performance of students as an indicator of success when that only tells part of the story. As mentioned before, mental and emotional health are difficult to measure, but it appears that though due to that fact, the school is assuming most people are okay since they haven't heard otherwise. I can tell you from experience, these kids are not okay. My sixth grader, who has been a straight A student his entire life, is not okay. He is now getting mostly C's. He has told me he has no motivation and no drive to sit on the computer all day. He has been out of the classroom for nearly a year and he is suffering. I have spoken to administrators of his struggle and have been told he is not alone. I have told his teachers and they say they feel it too. How can that be true when at the same time we are told virtual learning is going well for most students? Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. My child is now struggling with anxiety because he does not do well in a virtual environment. His attitude has changed completely. He is argumentative and we often fight, which ends up with him in tears. I would like to know how mental health is being assessed. Are you only accounting those people who self-identify? If so, you are missing so many students. Many articles have been written about this subject, but that is barely being spoken about. According to a news article by the Hetchinger Report, middle school is often difficult. Try experiencing it under quarantine. Early adolescence is a time of rapid cognitive changes when kids assert their independence from parents, form their own identities, and become hyper-dependent on and sensitive to interactions with peers. Their social brains are developing.
3 minutes.
Okay. That's the last comment. Thank you for submitting your comments.
No special guests, correct, Mrs. Durkin? Okay, moving on to finances. Mrs. Simmons.
Everyone's packet and last week, the January 2021 budget was sent into review. Or if you have any questions.
Any questions about the January 2021 budget? Do I have a motion to approve the January 2021 budget? Ms. Lane, second. Mr. Hackney, all in favor? Ms. Saunders, Mr. Hackney, Mr. Huffines, Ms. Lane, Mr. Brooks, Ms. Foster, thank you. The audit contract for 2020, 2021. Ms. Simmons?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I recommend and request a motion to approve Rebecca Barr, CPA, for our Clover Garden School 2020, 2021 auditor.
Ms. Barr has been the last 2 years. This would be our 3rd year with her.
I believe so.
Do I have a motion to approve the contract for 2020, 2021 with Ms. Barr? Mr. Brooks, second. Ms. Saunders, all in favor? Ms. Saunders, Mr. Hackney, Mr. Huffines, Ms. Lane, Mr. Brooks, Ms. Foster, thank you. Academics, principals report, Mrs. Moore.
So many great things to tell y'all about. So first of all, yesterday was our lottery. And we are super excited to welcome 63 total students to Clover Garden, including the entire class of 2034. Seems like a million years from now, doesn't it? But it's not that long ago, so we're super excited to welcome all those people, students. And then we also have 2 brand new faculty members that have joined us. Miss Alicia Tunstall, she's our 2nd grade TA. And we also have Miss Amy Geringer. She is our high school EC teacher. We want to give a shout out to our juniors because on February 23rd, we had our ACT and all 100% of our juniors showed up for that test, and that's awesome. Shout out to them. We also hosted our 2nd curriculum night, but this is our 1st virtual one. And we're super excited about this too because we had a 93.4 success rate. That means that all the feedback that we got back
From our people who participated, they were pleased with the event. Our teachers worked super hard to make this an awesome event for our students, to make them aware of the classes that we're offering and the cool things that are going on next year. And Miss Nina and Miss Reagan are working on registering all the students this month in middle and high school for their new classes. So that's always exciting. This month is our Culture of Literacy Month, and this note is from Miss Rigsby, our reading specialist. As you may remember, last March we had our literacy safari, which included hall decorations, read alouds, and other fun activities. And unfortunately, we missed out, among other things, on the mayor's read aloud and a presentation on the NC Zoom because of COVID. But this year we're back at it though, as we march into a culture of literacy. We're integrating literacy and the arts, including activities with the marching band, dancing with books, studying visual arts, dressing up, and other literacy fun. And if you saw today on our Facebook page, you saw Mr. Babb visited classrooms yesterday with the sousaphone, the large tuba, and he played notes. A lot of our kids had never seen such a humongous instrument before, so that was a lot of fun. And today he visited with bongos. We have other fun things throughout the month. And also we're hosting our virtual book fair to go along with our culture of literacy. So as y'all know, Clever Garden School is a school of choice, and we're super excited to show you our award that we got for participating in this wonderful event once more. Clever Garden School was created on three main principles: a challenging academic curriculum, a strong discipline policy and honor code, and a parent, guardian, student, teacher, and school contract. And these three things make up our pillars on our logo: community, academics, and honor. And we finally got our beautiful banner to show that Clover Garden was voted the best charter school in Alamance County for the 5th year in a row. We wanted to make sure that y'all saw that. We have two this year. One is going to be put up here if it's not already, and then one at the front of the school so everybody can see it. And we also had our lottery yesterday, which I've already mentioned, but I wanted to let you know that currently Clover Garden School is serving 646 students. And for the lottery season, we had 549 applicants, 63 were accepted. We had 549 total people in our lottery, 410 families, and then we had 371 brand new families to the Clover Garden Lottery. And that's exciting in itself. We're getting out there. People are excited. They want to be a part of Clover Garden. For our athletics report, we're going to have 6 teams for the spring season. So we have varsity boys tennis, middle school golf, softball, and baseball, varsity baseball, and varsity girls soccer. And they are getting ready for a cookie dough fundraiser. So if you're into that, be on the lookout. They're going to be knocking on doors, I assume, to be selling cookie dough. And we have a really cool award that our girls varsity basketball team received the Scholar Athlete Award. The entire team received this award for their awesome grade point average throughout the season. And then each individual lady on that team will also get an individual award. And then 3 varsity boys basketball team members will also receive the award for their high GPA. And they also received the ejection-free recognition for this past season. And that is awesome. And there was one more page. We have a staff shout out to Mr. G. We wanted to let you know that he has been selected to score AP calculus exams with the ETS program. That is humongous. That's such an honor for him. A way to boost his resume, so to speak, and to grow as a teacher, because he's been an AP teacher for quite a while, but grading the test will give him such an insight that he's going to be able to pour back into our students. We're really excited and proud of him for stepping out and stepping up to do something new. That's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Old business, Title I, Ms. Braken.
So we did get our Title I report back. And we're proud to report that we were all compliant except for one category. So there was one finding, in element 7, which is using understandable language and format of information disseminated to parents. So basically what we have to do now, is put a process in place to make sure that information that's being shared with families, is also in different languages such as English. So that is something that we are looking into programs and policies and what we can do for that. So once we have that compiled and put together, we will resubmit to the state to look into that. And so I don't know if they'll, correct that or not, but that will be our working plan. So very, very good from a Title I perspective on that audit. We've been waiting on that for a while. So shout out to those Simmons and Ms. Garrison and all those crew that works on Title I to make sure that things are done the right way. So again, we only have one finding that we have to correct. And we understand, we see it where the fault is there. So we will make that correction and submit that to the state.
Ms. Rakin, are we gonna have multiple languages it's available in, or are we
So that's what we're
focusing
working on
on
now.
which?
Yep, so we have quite a few different languages that are spoken here. So those are things, we put a translator feature on our website. But for example, like in the messages that go out every Sunday, that have a lot of pertinent information in it, they're just English. And so we've got to look at Spanish and some other different languages to be able to convert and change it over to make sure it's the most effective. So we're looking into that now as to what that process is going to look like.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Ms. Rakin, reopening plan updates, any new information?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I'm gonna let, you'll let Dr. Vaughn in. So I'm gonna let her give you some updates on our most current metrics that we have. And we'll make sure you guys get a copy of this as well. That's one thing I don't think you guys have a copy of, but, so they have changed some of the metrics. And so I'd like her to share that with you, just so you kind of see where they're coming from. Give her just a second. Hey, Dr. Vaughn. Can you hear us okay? Let's see. How about now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay, yes, ma'am. And so Dr. Vaughn, I don't know if you have that available. They do not have a copy of this. I will pass this around, the metrics that we talked about last week, if that's what you would like to discuss, based on what you provided last week. Okay, perfect. So I don't know if you want to share your screen, you can. If not, I'll pass around my copy while you're going over it. So Dr. Vaughn is going to give you an update.
I'll share my screen as long as you guys are able to see it. It might be easier just to walk through it that way. So, actually it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So.
All right, hold that thought.
I'm not meaning to make you dizzy.
That's okay.
Make her co-host. Okay, try now, Ms. Vaughn.
Okay, hold on. One second. Yep, that's gonna work. Make this bigger. That's as big as I can make it on my end. Does that work for you?
That's perfect.
Okay, great. All right, so just to walk through the metrics, some things have changed in terms of how these metrics are done, and that's because there was a new guidance put out by the CDC about how to work with these indicators and thresholds. So first, I'll just walk you through a little bit about what's changed so that, to kind of orient you based on kind of what we've been seeing in the past and what's different. So the two key indicators here are still related to the cases per 100,000 and the percent positivity for testing. However, they're now looking at a shorter time frame, so over the past 7 days instead of the past 14 days. And so that's the change that you can kind of see here on the left. And across the top here, you can see that there are now 4 colors instead of 5. And so what they've done is they've kind of condensed this lowest and low transmission into just one blue category. And so now we have blue, yellow, orange, and red. And the CDC has actually created a dashboard for every county in the United States so that you can actually just pull these metrics. And so that's what we see here below. If you can kind of see this first map with Alamance County, you can pull this at any time yourself, and the link is at the bottom here. And this kind of shows you some of the key metrics. There are additional metrics that are not shown here in the screenshot. But what you'll see that is kind of nice across the top is you can see these 4 colors here, and it actually highlights which category we're considered to be in. And that is if, one metric shows high and the other one shows medium or moderate, it's gonna for this overall, is gonna pick the more severe of the two, the more conservative of the two. So as you can see, as of the end of last week, Alamance County is still considered in the high category. This is really primarily driven still by the case counts, which are going down and continue to have gone down based on what we had, seen last time we met. And it's consistent with the trends that are being seen, across the state and really across the country, although we have been seeing some leveling off in the last couple of weeks. And so I think myself and many of those in my field are all kind of at this stage where we're not sure if we're at a trough where we're going to continue to kind of decrease or level off, or if the variants may start to play a larger role and that we might potentially see a resurgence. Nobody really has a good sense of that right now. So, based on what we know right now, we're continuing with a downward trend. That's still, again, as a reminder, we're still in this high category because even though we're starting to level off, we're still at the same levels that we were at peak in July. So hopefully that's not where we level off and that the vaccines will start to have a bigger role in decreasing the infections. But until we have a higher proportion of rollout, that's really not going to play a huge role just yet. So just to walk you through, you can see this is the cases, and you can see that downward trend for Alamance County. Deaths are obviously because they're, a smaller population within the county that's kind of more variable. And then the percent positivity has gone down to around 7%, which is definitely better than some of the double-digit numbers we were seeing during the peak. Similar trends in the other counties. You can kind of see with Guilford County or Caswell, some of that leveling off, potentially going back up. We're going to bounce around there for a little while. And then the percent positivity has gone down to around 6% here. Same trend with Guilford County, essentially. Actually, Guilford is the one county that has gotten below that 5% mark for 10% positivity, which is really exciting to see. We haven't seen a number that low in a long time. So encouraging data hopefully continues to go down. So I just put these as for reference. This is the old indicators that were used prior to the updated guidance, just so that you have it for reference. I'm not going to include that in future updates moving forward. I will just be including the new indicators. So these are all the old indicators, from previous months. And what I'll say is that where we are right now is kind of similar where we were at the beginning of November before we started to hit that big surge. So all the way down. Here's where we are as of the end of last week. So these first 2 rows are the old indicator. This is the 14 days with the case counts. And then, of course, if you just look at 7 days, you're going to see a fewer numbers here, but still reading out in the same risk level of the highest risk in terms of number of cases. The percentage of PCR test positive, this is the old indicator of 14 days, and this is the new indicator of 7 days, and slightly better for most of our counties with a 7-day indicator. So hopefully that will continue to trend in the right direction. Any questions on the indicators before I move on?
Yeah, thank you.
So the county alert system, this is the best we've seen the map look since they released the county alert system. So again, encouraging as well. I think we've only got 6 total counties in the red right now. And so this also, as you may recall, factors in hospital utilization, and we're not in that place where we're as worried about hospital utilization as we were over the winter months. And then in terms of vaccination status, this was as of March 5th. Just to give you some statistics of where we are. This is the top row is the percent of the population that has received the first dose. This is all the entire population, not just adults. And so, we're kind of in the 13 to 18% range across our counties. And then those that are fully vaccinated, between kind of 7 and 9%. So we're making some progress. Obviously now the vaccination is open for teachers and I think also now for essential workers. And so we'll start to see this open up more. And, you know, we recently had a third vaccine approved that is a single dose. This is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And you know, that data looks just as good. I was telling the Health and Wellness Committee that given the choice of any of those three, I would take whatever's available to me first. I would not have a preference. I have as much faith in the Johnson & Johnson as I do as the others. You know, it does have the advantage of being a single dose, so if scheduling and coming back for a second dose is difficult, that is nice. And the Johnson & Johnson can also be stored at refrigerated temperatures, which will make rollout much easier. So, yeah, I don't have any concerns with taking that. It does use a different technology that is not the mRNA technology, but yeah, the safety profile, it looks good. Happy to take any questions about the vaccines as well. And Ms. Brady, I don't know, I know that one of the things that we've been discussing is, you know, trying to understand what percentage of our staff have been vaccinated. I don't know if we have those numbers yet, or not yet. Okay.
Not yet, but working on that. So, so that was something that we talked about on Friday at our Health and Wellness Committee meeting was, so now our teachers are getting in there. And so that's something about a week ago, about a week and a half ago. So as our teachers are being vaccinated, we're keeping track of how many are actually vaccinated. So we don't have the number for you today, but by the next board meeting, we should be able to have that for you.
But just to be clear, any teacher that wants to go get a vaccination can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we've even had some families reach out that have connections that have reached out and said, hey, if you need, you know, an extra spot, I've got one for you. So even with the Alamance County Health Department was huge in the big part of that, of getting our teachers vaccinated. But we've also had family members and stuff in our Clover Garden community that have said, hey, I'll help out where I can too. So yeah, so they're going as soon as they get that call.
Thanks. So that's certainly encouraging news, and that's going to make things easier for us as a school to feel more confident that, you know, we're at less risk. But, you know, between the vaccinations starting and the case counts decreasing, I'm definitely feeling much more comfortable than I have in a long time. That being said, I think it's super important that everyone knows that even if you're vaccinated and you're a teacher in the school, you still need to be wearing a mask, you know, and when you're out in public. You know, really the CDC guidance that was just updated really yesterday, the only time that you should, you know, if you're vaccinated, not be wearing a mask is if you're hanging out with other people that are fully vaccinated, or if you're in, you know, hanging out with one other household that, you know, has nobody that's high risk. You know, they've said that they are confident, that they feel comfortable with that, which does speak to the fact that what they're likely seeing is that vaccination not only reduces severe disease and death, which was the primary endpoints in these trials, but also that it reduces the risk of, you know, someone who maybe is a carrier or asymptomatic, you know, spreading the virus, even if they've been vaccinated. You know, there's less likely to be asymptomatic transmission. So I haven't seen any additional new data on that, but the fact that the CDC guidance, you know, kind of took a little bit step further in terms of allowing kind of gatherings, small gatherings, really speaks to the fact that there is some confidence that is the case. So I'm encouraged to see that as well. I think the big question mark for everyone is what's going to happen with these variants and how is that going to impact the trajectory over the next few months. This kind of period between March and May-ish, I would say, is still what we consider kind of this gray area of we're not really sure what could happen because, you know, originally the CDC projected that this B.1.1.7 variant, which is the UK variant, would be the predominant strain in the United States by the end of March. I don't know that if we're still, you know, that's what they still project. I have not seen any more recent projections, but, you know, we do know that spreads more easily, and there is some evidence that it can be more severe. Some of these other variants, the South African variant, and the P1 variant, they're also, you know, potentially very problematic if they become the predominant variant. So I think right now we're just kind of in a watch and wait situation. There is a map here that shows that, you know, we don't have many cases of the variant that's been detected here. The caveat being that a very, very small percentage of virus samples that are positive cases are actually having sequencing done. So this is kind of similar to the beginning of the pandemic where you don't know what you don't look for or you don't test for. So I suspect that these numbers are actually much higher in reality and we just don't have the information. So I think, you know, if if the variants start to have a real impact, we'll see that in the overall case counts, and we'll start to see another peak. So we'll have time to react to that, and I'll continue to update you if there's anything of concern, that pops up. But right now, I don't think there's anything that we need to take action on with respect to the variants. I think the long range is that likely what will happen there will be like an annual booster shot that, people will need to get, kind of like the flu shot, in order to keep up with the variants. Because coronavirus is never going away. It's just going to be hopefully less of an impact on our lives once we can, get enough immunity in the population. So those are all the metrics that I have. Any questions about those?
I've got a question. It's teachers have been bumped up to the front of the line. Are high-risk individuals, say we have grandparents or parents that are high risk, have they already been able to get vaccinated?
Yeah, if you're over age 65, you've been able to be vaccinated for quite a while now. So
What about-
anyone who's in that category should have been offered, been given the opportunity. Now that teachers are, and others are coming into the mix, it doesn't mean that the prior phases can't go and get vaccinated. It's just going to mean it's harder for them to get an appointment because there's more competition for those slots. So hopefully, folks who are in that older age group took advantage of this time when they were the exclusive kind of group being vaccinated. But it doesn't mean that you can no longer get your vaccine. It's just going to be probably a bit harder. But I think, there's a mass vaccination site opening. I think the speed of rolling out the vaccine is going to increase quite a bit, especially now that we have another vaccine and it's not required to be frozen. That makes a huge difference in logistics.
Okay, age not being a factor, what about health issues? Were those people able to get vaccinations early too?
I don't know that we've reached the high risk category yet. I need to look and double check what the next phase is after this. I thought that would be the high risk phase, but let me get back to you on that because I don't have that right in front of me. Any other questions? Okay.
Questions?
Ms. Brady, do you want me to talk about the ABC Science Collaborative piece a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So one of the things that Health and Wellness has been talking about is, moving forward, kind of, we have our Google Forms that people are filling out to, get access to the school, and we have Ms. Cox and her team, keeping track of students that are potentially quarantined. But in our search, honestly, for trying to identify like some dashboards that we could put on our website, I came across the pandemic management platform that the ABC Science Collaborative has put out. This is a group that is based out of Duke. And this is the same group that, if you remember back to November, we were talking about that study in North Carolina schools that was put out. This is the same group that did that study. And they've been working on kind of developing tools for pandemic management for output across the state and beyond for a while. And so they've actually developed kind of a software platform that includes an app that, parents and staff can use. It's kind of like this green versus red in order to enter the school, same kind of screening questions that we already use. But it also includes this back-end pandemic management platform that really tracks things in more detail in terms of risk level. There's different user access so that, different, levels of staff can access the data, and, provides some nice reporting on the other end so that we can see, what the status is. And I think that as we get further into this and, and bring more children and students back into the school, it might be easier for us to use something that was, custom made for this application rather than trying to, use Google Forms and spreadsheets and things like that to manage this amount of data. So we met with them and we reviewed their platform, and it seems like it would be a really great fit. I think, Health and Wellness is supportive of doing this. I think it would make sense if we're going to do this, we would propose to start, for the next school year and not make any changes this year, just because there's already enough change going on. The big question mark, I think, that's still remaining for us, if we were going to do this, is cost. Right now it's being offered for free, but once they reach over 1 million users, I think they'll need to implement some sort of cost for that. So they're working on coming up with that. We don't have that yet. But given that we are just a single school, with, not a huge head count, they said that the cost, they thought it would be minimal. There's a number of schools, Orange County and Durham schools, Wake County schools, there's a huge number of schools that are using this platform right now. It is FERPA compliant, it's HIPAA compliant, they have really good data security and privacy pieces set up in place. So I think this could be a good option for us if it doesn't cost too much, and I don't think that the implementation could be too difficult, and I'm more than happy to help facilitate implementation of something like this for us. So just something that I think we'll need to get back to you on cost, and we can talk about it further. There is a slide deck that they provided. I don't know, Ms. Reagan, if you want to pass that on to them.
Yes,
But it might be worth having them look at it.
And we've looked at apps and things like that before, but we really like this one, like she said, because it is FERPA and HIPAA compliant, and that's a big thing, is people are putting their information in, just wanting to keep that information safe and protected. Cost is a big piece of that because everything's free at the beginning, and then we have to plan for that for the future. So we do think that this is something to at least look into. This would pretty much take the place of what we're using right now for our Google Forms. So anytime kids are on campus, parents have to fill out a Google form, and it's the symptom screener for COVID-19. And so we're already compiling that information now, but with this type of app, it will open up more doors for us to pull more data in case it's needed. So again, like she said, we don't think COVID's going anywhere. We think that this will probably be a process we'll have to implement when we come back to school in July. But my biggest concern was not changing anything else right now. Families have gotten into the routine. Our car lines are running smoothly and efficiently. So if we do decide to opt into something like this and decide to implement it for next school year, we would start small, maybe at the end of the school year with a small sample group of folks, like kind of what she mentioned, like using it with staff first, then using it with our K2 or something like that. So it's a slower rollout, just to get our families familiar, because that was a huge transition piece, using that Google form every morning. And shout out to our families who have really done a fantastic job of making sure they've got their form filled out, or if they don't, they answer the questions for us in the car line. So, so maybe not for this school year per se, because we've got a system that's working, but in preparation for next school year, maybe something really good to look into. And I'll chime in too. Dr. Vaughn also alluded to something too. We are also working, some schools have a COVID-19 dashboard on their websites. So that is our next step as health and wellness, is to look at something like that for Clever Garden, where it's confidential, but it's just kind of an overview so families have an idea, those that are nervous about sending kids back and things like that, just more information. So Dr. Vaughn, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that, some of the things that we would put in that table and put on our website or not.
Yeah, so I think that this doesn't have to be anything super fancy. I've seen some dashboards out there that, are extremely complex and building all these different widgets. I think really as a parent, I just want to get a sense, how are things going at the school? Is there a lot of kids quarantined? Are there a lot of staff quarantined? Have we had a lot of cases? I think we need to provide some level of transparency so that parents have a comfort level. It'll also help inform their decision-making about whether they're really comfortable to send their child back to school. So right now, they're just relying on kind of county level data, but we don't have any school data that they can look at. And so I think it's important that we provide some level of data. So kind of what I was thinking, and based on some other dashboards that I've seen, something even as simple as, how many staff are on campus, or what percentage of the staff are on campus, and we could do this week by week, and the same thing for students, what percentage of staff or students are engaging in in-person learning. And then we would want to, provide some statistics on the number of staff that are potentially quarantined, and the number of students that are quarantined, and then the number of confirmed cases, for both staff. And then students, we could potentially break that down by K through 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 12. Or we could break it down by, because we still need to track cases of even students who are doing remote learning, just because if they choose to end up coming on campus for whatever reason, we could break it down that way as well. But keeping it fairly simple so that we don't have to put a lot of resources into maintaining it and, just doing a once a week update. So that way the parents have a place to go to see what's happening specifically in our school in terms of cases. So if there's any specific metrics that the board would feel important to include on a dashboard, I think it would be great for us to hear that from you, so that we can make sure that we can build something that makes sense for everyone. Oh, and I just got a response. I just checked the vaccine. The next phase 4 will be those at high risk for COVID. So that is the next phase to be opened.
Any questions for Dr. Vaughn? Thank you, Dr. Vaughn, for your continued diligence and participation with our Health and Wellness Committee. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, more than happy to do it.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Good night.
All right. So just continue to touch on some more updates, from our Health and Wellness Committee. So great things that are happening there that we're working on. Other updates that were released. So, our guidance is to Strong Schools, North Carolina Public Health Toolkit. So they did update that as of March 3rd. And you may have seen that or heard that in the news and things like that. But if you go to page 3 on the bottom, it does talk about 6th through 12th grade students, and it still talks about that 6-foot requirement. So that is still the rules and regulations that we have to abide by as a public school, for our middle school through high school students. So I had mentioned to you before about a Senate bill that was out there. I think it was number 37, but, so the governor actually vetoed that bill, and so they have not been able to overturn that yet. I think they are still trying to do that. That would require, schools, not charter schools, because we're not included in this, but other, local administrative units, they would have the flexibility to send their kids back K through 12, pretty much in a plan A or a plan B. So that has not been passed officially yet, but even if it does, and they do overrule and that kind of process takes place, as of right now, charter schools are not included in that. So our plans that we have in place, are following the rules and we're able to do what we're able to do with the resources that we have in our building. So just to kind of give you an update there, because a lot of news stories and things like that might be a little misleading with that. But of course, yes, they do want kids to come back to school in some fashion, but that 6 feet rule, social distancing does still apply for middle school and high school kids, whereas it does not apply for K-5. So like I said, our kids in K-5 are pretty much back in a plan A, but we still have our social distancing things in place in those classrooms. Other guidance that we're just looking at, CDC has released some new guidance as well, so Health and Wellness continues to monitor this, and update you guys as, updates are made available. So some things there, like I said, continuing with, the rules and regulations that are still in place. Other updates, so just talking about health and wellness, the next step for us, so our biggest piece is making sure that, one, our middle school and high school kids are able to come back on campus next week in blended enrichment, successfully. So they're focusing pretty heavily on that transition. And then we do have kids coming back on site for in-person learning for K through 5, beginning on March 22nd. So we actually have an additional around 17 to 20 kids that are currently remote in K-5 that will be coming back on campus for the rest of the 4th quarter. So they'll start back on March 22nd and join our classrooms. And the other concern that they had, but it's great now with metrics being lower, Health and Wellness, their only concern is the Easter holiday. Spring break's coming up, people traveling, those kind of things. So we're just going to kind of continue on monitoring those metrics. There was a lot of talk kind of bounced around about being remote that week. We come back from Easter and things like that, but I think the whole committee is on the page with, hey, we finally got them back in here. Let's stay consistent. Unless something drastic changes, I will let you know and send that suggestion to you. But for now, I think we can manage with what we have, and the metrics are looking good. So that made everybody feel a little more comfortable. Other things I'd like for us just to kind of ponder and think about. So as restrictions are loosening up, thinking about visitors. Right now, we do not allow any visitors on campus. With the lottery that we just had, we've got some prospective families that want to come in and, hey, I'd love to join the school, but I've never seen it. So we do have a virtual tour that we've got with pictures and things like that, but just something for us to kind of think about later for these families. Do we specify it where they can come visit, designated time, where kids are not here, just things for us to kind of think about. Because we do have some new families that got in on the lottery and want to say yes, but they do want to take a look around. So just some things for us to think about as restrictions are loosened and things like that. Other things that just to kind of give you updates on, so very excited about blended enrichment. So blended enrichment is kind of what we talked about with focusing on our 6th through 11th grade students that are enrolled in those core classes that are going to be tested at the end of the year. So there were 299 kids that were eligible for this. We had 124 kids sign up. So that put us at about 41%. And I'm pleased with that. That's 41% of our kids that we're not able to see right now that we get to see starting on Monday.
How many signed up?
124. And so they kind of break down by grade level, and some kids double dip. Some kids have more than one tested area. So it's pretty exciting there with our biggest, well, I mean, I say our biggest percentage, but it's the smallest group of kids, so that makes the percentage a little bit higher. But we do have about 49% of our 6th graders coming back, 57% of 7th grade coming back, 51% of 8th grade, 42% in math 1, 67% in math 3, 44% in English 2, and 33% in biology. And so that's just based on the kids that are eligible to come in because they're enrolled in these courses. So our teachers have worked incredibly hard on this, putting kids in pods, putting systems in place, putting arrival and dismissal procedures in place and screening processes. So we're really excited about that. And then just what else we can do along these same lines. So we talked a lot about some of our high school teachers having office hours, things like that, where they're doing online tutoring and things like that. But hey, I want to come in, I want to show you my application for school, help me with that, especially our seniors. So we're working with our senior advisors right now on, they meet virtually every other Friday, but kind of implementing some things where they actually come in the building. So seniors come in, like I said, with that scholarship application, and then you have a teacher that can overlook it and kind of give you some heads up and things like that. So trying to support those seniors because a lot of them did not apply in this because they've already taken those courses. So just trying to hit the needs of all of our kids the best way that we can. But again, that starts on Monday. So that'll be really exciting. Schedules have already gone out to families. And so we're working on that right now. So very exciting there. And the last update that I had was, so band is participating. If you've not got to see that on Facebook, we'll put a little video up there. But they have been practicing, playing their instruments. Instruments have masks on, they have masks on, and they're outside. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. They are adhering to all of that, the COVID-19 restrictions. So then dance and chorus want to get on that too, right? So we were trying to work out a system for all of them to be able to do something. But I think at the current moment, based on just conversations we've had, band is going to work on some kind of spring performance, okay? So tentatively for the end of April, I'll give you dates whenever we solidify those, but something that's, an outdoor event where we can do a drive-through or a park in your vehicle and stay there, still adhering to the mass gathering rule, but 50 people max outside. So that's pretty much our band. So, working on a way so that our families can still be involved, still see their kids, still hear the music and things like that. So we're working on those right now of a arts on the lawn type performance. So they're working on that with the COVID guidelines. So more details to come on that, but excited to be able to see the band perform again, as in the springtime with athletics moving back up for spring sports too. So some cool things coming, we hope, down the road. I believe that is it for mine. Yes, ma'am, that's it for mine. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, would you mind repeating those percentages?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. 6th grade, we have 49%.
Okay.
7th grade is 57.
Okay.
8th grade is 51. Math 1 is 42. Math 3 is 67. English 2 is 44. And biology is 33. And that triggered another memory for me. So also think about tested subject areas. So AP courses. So AP courses were not included in this, but they do have a final exam. Some of our AP teachers have said, hey, want to do some test prep, want to get them ready for the final exams. So we are working on building that into our schedule as well. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are heavy from 1 to 3 in pods. And then Thursday and Friday, we have a little bit of flexibility. So that's where we're going to try to incorporate the AP kids and our seniors on campus.
The invitations that were sent out to the students, that was based on most at risk, starting from there and
No, that
moving
went up
up.
to everybody.
They went up
Everybody
to everybody.
enrolled, every middle school through 11th grader, because 12th graders weren't enrolled in some of those courses, but it went out to everybody, so they all had the opportunity to participate in that. If they were enrolled in a tested subject area.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Verriken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to governance, committee updates. Governance, Mr. Brooks.
We are working on updating the grievance policy. I've rewritten it. I'm going to give a copy to all the interested parties so that we can iron out all the details and fix all the bugs, and then we'll be able to have the board vote on it, so it'll be in effect for next year.
Thank you. Finance,
No updates at this time.
thank you. Academic, Ms. Foster.
Couple things that I'll just reiterate that have already been said tonight. Number one, 100% of the juniors did show up on campus to take the ACT. We did have over 100, or we had over 120, and as Ms. Verriken just told us, 124 children who did sign up for the middle high school blended enrichment and are participating. We've also got some check-in data. There was an average increase of about 1% in math and scores for 3rd through 8th grade since check-in 1. There was an 8% increase in grades 3 and an 11% increase in grade 4. There was also an increase in reading of about 6.7%, and in the scores for grades 3 through 8 since the first check-in. And just to break that down, there was a 7% increase in grade 5, an 18% increase in grade 6, an 8% increase in grade 7, and a 13% increase in grade 8. The academics committee realizes that currently there is some need for some improvement in math 8 and biology as some of our students are struggling. But the teachers are working on ways to boost participation and mastery of topics in these particular subjects, and hoping that some of the blended enrichment will enhance that learning and make us see some better results. We will be having another academics committee meeting at the end of April once 3rd check-ins have been completed.
Great, thank you, Ms. Foster. Any questions?
K through 5's back on campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had the lowest increase in check-ins?
Okay, where are you?
They're back on campus, but they had the lowest increase of all 4.
Yeah.
But weren't they not back on campus until February?
They just got back.
Oh, okay.
They just
Yeah,
returned.
It's only been 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, they haven't been back that long.
Yeah. Any other questions? 20-year committee, again, we are going to try to meet in the month of March to kick off what that celebration could look like. Also, a reminder that board elections will be coming up. Mr. Brooks and Mr. Huffines are ending their term, or their term is coming up in June. So we will need to start looking at that process and walking through what will happen come May, June for that. Any new business? Okay. Any other items to discuss in open session? Okay. At this time, we we will move into, I need a motion to move into closed session. General Statute 143-18.11A15. Mr. Brooks, second. Ms. Saunders, all in favor? Ms. Saunders, Mr. Hackney, Mr. Huffines, Ms. Lane, Mr. Brooks, and Ms. Foster. Note the time, 7:30.